Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am Jillian Friot, the program manager for the 3D Experience Works for Startups program that we're very happy to have available to startups. And what I want to do is tell you, just to give you a little quick background on me. I love ice cream a lot, clearly. It's my passion in a lot of ways that turned into, sort of manifested itself into a startup for me years ago. So I've been a failed founder, which I say sort of lovingly because it taught me a lot of lessons, and it also led me to do what I do today and be involved in supporting startups. And that now that is my real passion. And kind of in the end, in working with other founders, I realized that um, it kind of in some ways being part of the Fab, tied into the Fab Foundation and Fab Association, provides that similar sort of reward of helping others and being involved in a network of people who are all working towards something, sort of bigger than themselves. So I share that story with you, with my experience of being a failed founder in an ice cream manufacturing business, because I definitely can relate to the struggle of starting something and being a founder. But the real story that I want to share with you today is about Christian Begg, who some of you might be familiar with, but he's the founder of Bowhead Corporation. And what I love about Christian's story is that he is, like all of us who are part of the Fab Association or are tied into a Fab Lab in one way or another, like all of us, he's a maker at heart and spends time in the shop, and he's a machinist with his kind of background is in machining and mechanical engineering. But in 1996, he was in an accident that caused him to be paralyzed from the waist down. And he loves the great outdoors, so he was, super active on hiking trails and mountain biking, kind of need for speed, adrenaline junkie, which I can also totally relate to, being somebody who does has a need for speed. So Christian's challenge was, okay, how do I continue to enjoy the great outdoors, be on hiking trails, go to places where maybe a traditional wheelchair in the past didn't really allow you to go with as much comfort or ease or excitement as Christian wanted. So his challenge was, let's develop an innovative mobility aid, which I really like his terminology for that, that would enable him to do those things and to continue to live this, adventurous life that he wanted to live. So he had, so like a lot of us being in a lab, you're like, I think I can solve this problem that I have, or, play around with something and as an inventor, try things out to solve a problem you might have yourself. And that's kind of what he was looking to do. So he was kind of, the other thing I like about him is that he'll admit that he's maybe not the best CAD designer, but doesn't necessarily use SOLIDWORKS every day for his profession. So he was, kind of brushing up on the tools, but found that it was easy enough for him to hop in and actually use SOLIDWORKS to bring this idea from idea to actual product. So he actually played around in the lab, iterated physically with his machining techniques and his knowledge of CAD design to build himself a prototype of this bike that could let him go down these trails fast and really lean into turns. That was his big thing, was being able to lean and go over rocks, or as you can see here is sort of an example of what he built. Going over the box here, but you could imagine if rocks on a hiking trail or something like that. So success for Christian, right? Like, this is awesome that he was able to do this and to make something that that allowed him to not have any limits to what he could do outdoors. And that's what I love so much about being part of a lab and being able to experiment with that. But the great thing about this story is that that's really not at all the end of it. And for Christian, he brought his bike to a camp in Alberta, a summer camp for children who have disabilities. and let them try and go down the trails there. And a 14-year-old girl with cerebral palsy went for a ride, and she was a woman of few words, but when she got to the bottom, she said, "Best day of my life." And for Christian, this was the pivotal point that sparked him to say, this is something that I invented for myself to fulfill this craving I have for speed and adventure, but it's actually something that I can scale and bring to others to bring joy to their lives, and take this to a much larger reach. So Christian at that point then went from maker to startup, or from fab lab to startup, and something that we look at as a lot of startups and entrepreneurs start in a lab like that, start in a fab lab. About 10% or so, based on some of the statistics we've seen, show that it's about 10% of the people that are in a fab lab are actually entrepreneurs or startups themselves. So, and actually I've seen that as well. I was part of the Fabric Academy in 2018, 2019, and I learned a lot from my classmates who were part of that as well, that they were working on something for the Fabric Academy, but at the same time that was building towards something larger, to a startup, or the technology and the skills that they were learning, they were able to then apply to a startup business afterwards. So because of that, we want to make sure that we are supporting startups who, like Christian or like me, are going from sort of maker to startup. So Christian, to then take his idea and do that, joined our startup program with SOLIDWORKS, and developed and manufactured the Bowhead Reach. So what was great about this is that at the time, again, he was making it for himself, so he had a couple prototypes, but then really wanted to scale it and bring it to production. But like I said, he wasn't, he needed somebody else to help him with the design skills. He needed a team, so he did bring on board his Will Gill, who is his co-founder and director of research and development. And what I love that Will said is that by using SOLIDWORKS and 3D printing, they were able to iterate super fast and actually bring the Reach to market a year ahead of schedule, which is huge for any startup, knowing that time. We do a lot of research into startup success and startup ecosystem, and this is from Fictive Hardware Report, but that time and delays are really one of the biggest things that can kill a startup or can help them to grow and get to market faster, is really something that gives them that competitive edge. Same with cost and capital, that's one of the biggest barriers that startups face. So I've experienced that for sure, and that's really why we have this program, is to be able to help people like Christian and anybody who has an idea go from idea to ideation and actually designing the product, and then going from that design work to producing and manufacturing it in a scalable way. And here's Chinlu showing Christian on stage with us at 3DEXPERIENCE World this year. So this is Christian with the Bowhead Reach powered wheelchair, and it's actually decked out here for the Magic Wheelchair Project, which Chinlu has a session on as well. So if you are interested in that, definitely check that out. And this is, we're happy that we are able to help support Christian in his journey to go from maker to startup. And also want to point out here too, this is at 3DEXPERIENCE World 2020, but that was live and in person, and then this, for 2021, something like that could be, may or may not be virtual, but we're happy to also help our startups get in front of an audience and share their stories, never to exploit them, but only to help and make sure that we're using our network to the startups' advantage and share what they're doing, and also make sure that they're supported in co-marketing efforts, blogs, videos, things like that. So just one of the great benefits about the program. So we're just super excited that we have this awesome program that is available to startups who are eligible for it, who are under $1 million in funding, under $1 million in revenue, and less than 3 years in business. And the program's been around now for about 4 years or so. We call it the 3DEXPERIENCE Works for Startups program, which now it's been over 10,000 sponsored startups all around the world, and over 400 incubators and accelerators that are part of our network, who we support, we work with closely, we do mentoring, make sure that we connect them back to our networks, and really, again, just with the whole, the purpose being that we believe in supporting startups and giving back to the startup ecosystem through tools and resources, and sharing our network with startups that need it. So this is an example too of our website here. So if you are interested or you need to have access to the tools and resources, you can apply at solidworks.com/entrepreneurs, and feel free to share that with anybody in your networks who could benefit from it. The great thing is, really what we want to do is support with software, with training, with co-marketing, and like I said, tools and resources that startups need, especially hardware startups, to go from idea to production. And one of the things that I'm super excited about this year is that we are now going beyond just the design tools that you know and love with SolidWorks, but really helping to make sure that the entire team has support on one platform. So I wanted to show you kind of quickly what I mean by that. So Christian actually was kind enough to share some of his data files with us to show an example of what that might look like for a small startup team, using the 3DEXPERIENCE platform and SolidWorks to bring something like the Bowhead Reach to production. So, for many startups, and a majority of the ones that are in our program, they are around, say, 4 people on a team. So in this case, you might have somebody who's, a manager, you've got the engineer, you have your founder, and then sales and marketing, say. So to kind of look into what we can do, so for 3DEXPERIENCE, SolidWorks, we can go from ideation, refinement, product preparation, and then to the engineering release and manufacturing, and then all the way through sales and marketing within the platform, and connecting everybody in one singular place. So if we take a look into even just the engineering side of this, this is the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. So say Eric, our engineer, will log in. He can launch SolidWorks directly from 3DEXPERIENCE platform, all on the cloud, and access his design files, be able to sync that and save everything here and share that with the team. And also, I wanted to show you guys, you can launch this from the browser here. So this is Bowhead's website, and then there's the icon up in the corner where that will launch directly to the platform, 3DEXPERIENCE platform. And then you can share, have a lot of collaboration tools to be able to share dashboards, communities with your other team members. And I love this because, like I said, for a startup that's, maybe 4 people, or really anything, 2 to 4 or 5 people, it's great because you do need access to tools to do some of this collaboration, that otherwise you'd be on all different types of platforms. And that's really what we hear from the startups in our program, was that they were using kind of a mix of all these different platforms to do all of these things. And for them, that was frustrating because none of it was synced together, or they were having to pay for different types of subscriptions. Whereas with the program, they can just be all on one platform in one unified place, and not have to worry about some of that disjointed communication and collaboration. So this is just kind of showing how Bowhead was able to utilize the platform to do some of this design work with the team, and actually share in private spaces. So in this case, we're sharing, say, uploading the prototype image here, and then this allows sales and marketing to take screenshots of this and, say, share it on the website, or use it for marketing content, or whatever it may be. So just kind of give you an example of some of the tools that are in software side of things that are available to startups in our program. And to show you what it means when I say it's going beyond just the design tools, but really it's collaboration, it's data management, it's project planning, and collaboration all in one place. So we're super excited to be able to have that available to startups as part of the 3DEXPERIENCE Works for Startups program, in addition to things like training as well. So, oftentimes people like Christian have to sort of self-teach, and I'm fall into that category as well. And ended up in this world through sort of a non-traditional way as far as engineers go. So the My SolidWorks professional gives great access to training videos and content that can help you, get up to speed faster and get your designs done faster. As well as, co-marketing, as I mentioned, we are happy to help startups that are in our program get the word out there about what they're doing and showcase that through either our live events like 3DEXPERIENCE World, giving opportunities to do pitch competitions and things like that, as well as blogs, videos, through our website, other speaking engagements, and I should also mention too, in addition to that, we're happy to do mentorship and connections to others, that anything that can help a startup go from idea to product development. So if you do need access to our tools and resources, you can easily get to them through our webpage at solidworks.com/entrepreneurs. And we are, as I said, we're just thrilled to have the opportunity to give startups access to our tools and believe that that is the right thing to do. Startups are the catalyst for innovation and really what changes the world, as evidenced through FabX this week. Is people are capable of some pretty amazing things, and sometimes they just need the right connection or the right access to a tool or resource that can help be the bridge towards that. So we are thrilled to have a program that supports that, and happy to share the word about it. So if there's anyone in your Fab Lab and your network who is going down that path towards commercializing a product and needs access to our design tools, then definitely feel free to point them in this direction, or or let us know if there's any ways we can help with that. So that's I think that's it for me, but I appreciate everybody taking the time to learn about our program, and definitely appreciate anyone who would like to share this with others. So. And open, I don't know if we're doing questions, open to questions if anyone's got them.
Yeah, we have some questions. Alithya, should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, Abhishek.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Jillian. So one of the questions is, my SolidWorks gives access to learning content for SolidWorks. Is it free?
My SolidWorks is free. And then we, as part of the startup program, have access to My SolidWorks Professional, which is a small cost, but through the program, it's no cost. So.
Okay. The second question is, I want to commercialize my product. Do I have to pay anything to start using the tools right away?
No, so if you apply to the program and are accepted, then you don't have to pay anything to start using it. And we make sure that you've got access to something, to a version to get you started as soon as you apply and are accepted. So it's the eligibility criteria is under $1 million in funding, under $1 million in revenue, and less than 3 years in business. So if you meet the criteria, then you'll have access to the design tools.
So Jeffrey here is saying he lives in Malawi, and internet is a barrier there. So he's asking, is the on-premise version available on Linux also?
So the on-premise, there's licenses that are of SolidWorks that are available through the program as well. We're sort of in a transition mode from on what our offering is, and we're excited that we have cloud offerings available. But at the same time, we do understand there are people who may still need access to non-cloud versions of the product. So we can make sure that there's access for that too, if that's something that you need.
Okay. And another question is, okay, Jeffrey is saying thanks. Another question is that if I'm making a commercial product, for how long is the are the tools free for me?
So the tools are free for up to a year, and then after that, we work together to see where you're at and what we can do to help you beyond that. So we do have startup specials and things like that as well, but we work in collaboration with your local reseller, and they can help as well to figure out kind of what the best next steps are. We definitely don't want to just, set you up and then drop you at the end of the program. So we really try to make sure that we have offerings available to startups to help you kind of ramp up to purchasing. So we understand that can be challenging, and I definitely hear you on that. So we do try to make sure we help after the end of the year.
Okay. Another question is that for startups, one of the needs is networking. Do you also potentially help startups network with other accelerator or incubator programs or with your partners?
Definitely. We are happy to help make connections for networking opportunities. So one of the great ways to do that is through 3D Experience World. We invite the startups every year, and this year we also plan to invite all the startups that are part of the program as well, for probably some virtual networking. So stay tuned for more information on that. But we definitely are happy to help on that front in making network connections. And in addition to the experience world, throughout the year, because we have this network of incubators and accelerators, we can certainly make connections to those. A great way to do that is through we have an online community on the 3D Experience platform that's free for anybody to access. All you have to do is create a 3D Experience ID, and there's an easy link for it, which is solidworks.com/startup-program. So solidworks.com/startup-program will take you to our online community, and we often post information there about the accelerators that are in our network. So if you're interested in making connections, you can communicate with other hardware startup founders who are part of our network there as well. Accelerator managing directors, we can make connections there. So feel free to join us on that and write us a message, and we can see how we can help you make those connections. Also, yeah, there's other events that we, prior to coronavirus, that we would try to be present at in person, and now we look for ways to virtually connect with accelerators and incubators. So definitely happy to help make those connections and try to post about them through our community there.
Okay, great. So Pete is asking, what does Dassault get out of this relationship?
We really is just building that loyal, long-term relationship with you. So we understand that, for us, if we provide you software to help you start your business, that, in the long run, you may become a loyal customer for us. And as your business grows, then you continue to use Dassault systems and SolidWorks offerings. So for us, it's really we feel like giving a little bit in the beginning goes a long way in the long run. So it's kind of a win-win-win, I guess I have to say. So a win that, for you to have access at no cost, and a win for Dassault for long-run customers, and then, really a win for overall, that it's giving back to the hardware startup ecosystem, which is what we believe in.
Right. So it's like your success becomes our success. So
Yes. Yeah,
we want to
exactly.
make sure that you are successful, right? Okay. Um, Ellie is asking, what exactly is an accelerator or an incubator?
So accelerators and incubators, they're defined a little bit differently, but accelerators are programs typically that are, say, 9 months, it could be 6 months, 9 months, 3 months, that help a startup go from idea to market. So they would kind of run you through an accelerated program that accelerates your business. So they're awesome. They're great ways to connect with investors, with anybody who has other resources. Usually they bring in industry experts. So through that time frame, whatever the program duration is, by the end of it, usually you're pitching to investors or to, say, corporate partners or things like that. So it'll help you to grow your business faster. So that's most successful startups that we see go through accelerator programs, and I would highly, highly recommend it. There's all different kinds, all different structures, and pretty much everywhere in the world. So that's definitely something to look into if you're trying to grow your business. Incubators, I typically define a little bit differently because they're usually a bit later stage. So say after you do an accelerator, you may have a small team, you may need a space to work out of, or you may still want to be connected to others, but you don't need to go through a structured program. Usually an incubator works a bit more like that. So hopefully that helps to answer the question.
Oh, okay. Pete has a question. Does this limit participation with other programs such as Y Combinator?
No, not at all. Actually, we work with YC and many other accelerator programs. So actually works pretty well together. So you can be using the access and be part of their programs, or if there's ways that we can work all together too. We're prior to COVID or virtually now we are just present with the accelerators, typically doing mentor sessions and things like that. So certainly all works well together and no limitations as far as being part of it and being part of our program as well.
Another question that came to me was, I'm a maker. I don't know SolidWorks, but I want to start a company. How much time would it take for somebody like me to learn SolidWorks, and how can this program help?
That's a good question. If you have no prior knowledge of SolidWorks, I'd say starting with something, more on the educational side by either using licenses that are available, student version licenses that are part of a fab lab or makerspace is a great way to go before you start your commercial licenses. So probably getting up to speed on that. It depends on the person, but I know that our sort of first level certification classes take about 40 hours to get certified, and you can go through training modules. I was not a trained engineer, but was able to do probably somewhere even in a 10-hour time frame, really get a pretty good understanding of what the capabilities are maybe of the product, and then to learn it and be proficient in it would take a bit longer than that, maybe 40 hours. I don't know, Abhishek, if you have a better idea of how long it takes to be proficient in SolidWorks, but
Right. Yeah, it depends. Of course, it varies a lot. But what I'll do is I can give you my email address to everybody who's attending, and if you need a maker license or just to try out, we can help you with that. In fact, through the sponsorship that we have with Fab Foundation, every single Fab Lab in the Fab Foundation network, they get one seat of SolidWorks, a premium, which is like in their lab. And then if you as a maker want to use SolidWorks for non-commercial purposes, you can contact your Fab Lab manager, and he can contact me, or you can contact me directly. I'll give you my email address.
yeah, so that's a great way to start as a maker. I think before it's definitely what we encourage people before joining the program, because then you can get your skills up to speed and kind of work on figuring out what it is that what your startup business plan is, and then start using the commercial licenses once you need to actually go to production. Because that's really where the only barrier is the student version versus the startup program is just that the startup program offers you access to licenses that are not watermarked, so you can take that to production without any legal issues.
Right. So Pete has a question. Does the program have relationships with angels or VCs too?
We do. We have a network of between the incubators, accelerators, VCs. So there's definitely access to a lot of great connections that way, and I am actively looking for the best ways to make those connections, but usually it's just a matter of reaching out to us directly, asking for something like that, and then we can see on our end what's a good fit and make those connections. So the community that we have, like I said, relatively new, the 3DEXPERIENCE community, but that's really where we plan to invite everybody in and try to grow some of that that networking, as well as through the networking and matchmaking that we'd like to do for 3DEXPERIENCE World this year, which again, stay tuned on that. Don't hold me to exactly that, but that we would like to do more mentoring and matchmaking with VCs and accelerator MDs and the startups that are in our program.
Okay, so Jillian, the time's nearly up. Can you type in the location or the address of that community?
Yeah, let's do that. I will. Just looking for where to add that on
Oh, okay.
here.
Otherwise, I can type. You can just.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, here we go. Chat. Okay,
Yeah.
now I see it. solidworks.com/startup-program. Yeah, and that should take you to our 3DEXPERIENCE community there. So you just have to create your 3DEXPERIENCE ID, and then you can log in and chat with us there. I like to post on there, like I said, about accelerator programs that are coming up that we're partnered with, or useful articles or information that I find to be relevant and hopefully helpful to founders.
Okay, so Julian, last thing is, so if you want people in this group or anybody who watches this re-telecast, should they reach out to you or should they go to this community directly?
Going to this community is great because we as a team can help, but also happy to connect with anybody on LinkedIn too, and we can make sure we answer your questions. Also, we have a generic email address for the program too. That might be great because I want to make sure that our whole team can see your questions and we can get back to you as soon as possible. So let me send you this email address as well. solidworks.nam.entrepreneurs. So feel free to email us, join us on the community, connect with me on LinkedIn, and definitely happy to help our fellow fabbers out there.